Now I've spent so much time in the doghouse, it got me daydreaming of the cat house. I once knew a girl who was into magic. She first made my pants disappear, then she cut my savings in half. Last thing I heard about her, she had been caught trying to steal the donation jar out of a convenience store while on parole, which led to her serving 3 to 5 in the Brampton Correctional Facility, where negligent mothers and meth addicts are using her both as a spittoon and an ashtray. You see, the system works. It just doesn't always work for you. How do you know when you're in a bad strip joint? When she's finished her lap dance and you have skid marks on the outside of your pants. Lap dances, $20 for a stranger to crush your nuts. But oh how I do love the ballet. I once loved a girl who was a mortician. She scared me stiff, but sadly between the sheets she was a dead fuck. I only regret that I really should have seen it coming. The inherent flaw in Buddhism is that it insists on the importance of reality and its pains and intensity, while subjugating brainwash techniques of an imaginary nirvana to both have its proverbial cake and eat it too, just as Christian, Hindu, Muslim, and Jew instruct behavior for here on earth and promise imaginary rewards in a pretend land. If the Dalai Lama were 1/10 as smart as people like to pretend that he is, the Dalai Lama would have talked China into freeing Tibet already. The only display of wisdom that I've seen come out of this starfucker is an inalienable ability to build free dinners out of B-list actors. Her name was Leslie. She lived in a co-op sectional apartment number 4 of 5 buildings. My family lived in building number 2. The co-op apartment buildings vaguely resembled the dormitory structures of Auschwitz by design and not intent, I hope. Leslie, of the honey-colored skin and long legs that went all the way down to her feet, pert breasts that drew the eye and warmed all red-blooded men, pert breasts that said, the party is this way, and it is spectacular. Each of the 5 buildings contained an upper-level set of 12 two-story apartment buildings above 10 lower-level ground-floor apartments with basements, community laundry room access, and community-use rumpus rooms that served for dart tournaments every other Friday, and once a month would be dimly lit dances for the junior high-year-olds. It was there, at one of those soirees, where I slow danced in that dingy utility closet to Madonna's Live to Tell with Leslie, and began my lifelong wanton struggle with the enticement of older assertive women. I would sit on a bench outside of building number 3 of the 5, and I read science fiction novels, and Leslie would sit next to me, ask me what I was reading, and then compare the stories I was reading with the stories she was reading. Leslie adored that I read outside of school for pleasure. Eventually I deducted Leslie wasn't interested in me at all. Leslie was 2 years older than me. She had a younger brother named Anthony. Anthony was in grade 5, Leslie was in grade 8, and I was in grade 6. And her disinterest in me was one of my first introductions to depression. I wanted to kiss Leslie and hold her hand. She wanted me to be a playmate for her socially defunct brother, whose favorite pastime appeared to be knocking people over, then squealing with laughter. Leslie felt that my hanging out with him would be a constructive force in his life, as I read books, had thoughts of my own, and I thought it was really crappy that I was so attracted to yet another girl who wasn't interested in me. Before Leslie it was Ruth, before Ruth it was Andrea, and Amy, and Sari, and Sarah, and Kathy, and after that it was Charlene, who lived up the street, had me babysit for her. After a few beers would flash me her fine and fair breasts No touching, just looking, gazing, praising those milky mountains of joy. There was Linda across town who made me babysit for her, who had me babysit for her, and would tell me in graphic detail proceedings of her abortion of a married man's unborn, illegitimate spawn. Given the choice between staring and glaring at a pair of titillating titties or hearing about the waiting room of a doctor's, well, boobs are better. Just don't leave that shit on your cell phone, buddies.
My sex life is in the witness relocation program, systematically removed from my proximity for everyone's protection. Oh, Leslie, the sexy girl in my neighborhood.
Angry wife, how would you like it if I had dirty pictures of dicks on my phone? I'd be happy knowing that she wasn't completely given up on sex and healed over, making herself some kind of life-size, smoothed-over Barbie genitalia. Now I spent so much time in the doghouse, it's got me daydreaming of the cat house. Right before I dropped out of college, there was this little Japanese flower. I had a huge crush on her, but there was something wrong with me. She would have none of it. Not a lady, mind you, an actual flower. I had this thing for a woman who was a rock climber, and everything was going great till she fell for me. She lost her ability to walk, and I had an acute case of amnesia that only coincided with her phone number. Life is weird like that. Red Rover, I will fuck you over. I knew a gal from Hungary. She smoked so much she got lungery. She introduced me to bungery, which made a mess of my laundry. I tried to be cheeky but made a total ass out of me. One thing I can tell you about Irene is that she sure knew how to take a punch. Did I say punch? I meant compliment. Irene knew how to take a compliment, the way her black guy would compliment that brooch. It was a gosh darn shame. Complimented right up on her lips. Spent so much time in the doghouse, it's got me daydreaming about the cat house. 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 Daydreaming about the cat house.